Okay, so this is part 2 of the full moon in Virgo on February 19th forecasts, and this is for Libra rising, sun or moon, and the full moon in the sign of Virgo is in the 12th house for Libra rising. So the 12th house is a house of enlightenment. The full moon is a planet that gives something good. And it is also the house of the subconscious. It's like what we're not really aware of on a conscious level, oftentimes. And the sign of Virgo, well, the sign of Virgo is about purification, assimilation, elimination. And because it's all happening in an earth sign, it's a full moon, it's a giving thing, this looks like a good time for spiritual practices, spiritual growth, enjoying the fruits of the spiritual practices you've been doing for a while. It's also a chance to perhaps travel to a foreign country, because the 12th house is also faraway lands. Now, the full moon would not usually be. Sometimes the full moon is a good time to fast. Is that right, Neeshee, from Ayurveda point of view?
I would say it is a good time to fast, yes.
Okay, so it can be a good time to fast, and you'll get a lot more out of it if you do during this time. It's also the house of hospitals and imprisonment. So if it's part of your spiritual path, part of your spiritual practice, it's a good time to go visit people in the hospital and people in prison to, I don't know, I guess it kind of depends on what kind of spiritual tradition you come from. I know that there are some spiritual traditions where that is a big part of what they do. It's part of their ministry. And or you can just contemplate perhaps the ways that you have felt confined or imprisoned in your life. And the full moon there can shed light on it and how to get free. So, what would you like to say about this, Neeshee? And also tell us what card you drew for today, too. We're doing something a little new. We're bringing the cards into it because it's fun. So,
I drew an 8 of Hearts for this full moon. So, 8 of Hearts is about the balance that comes from following our evolutionary potentials. And for Libra, I think this is auspicious, because as you pointed out, the full moon in the 12th, this is really good for meditation, for spirituality, for pursuits of that kind, for any kind of shadow work. It doesn't have to be, quote, spiritual. It can be anything that is uncovering things that help a person grow and actualize themselves at a healthier and more evolutionary level than they currently are at. We can say spirituality includes that in the broadest sense of the term. So this is a time for that, for reflection, for contemplation. And if you already have a spiritual path and spiritual practice, this is the time to just intensify that for this day, time to really drop into that. So I don't really have anything to say about it health-wise. Libra is an air sign and Virgo is an earth sign. So I think that's a good balance, It's grounding.
Right, and because the hearts represent fruit, it's
right.
kind of spiritual fruit that can be realized.
That's right.
The fruits of the spirit, they call it.
Right. That's the real import of this full moon for Libra, spiritual fruits.
Yeah. And perhaps thinking about what kind of spiritual fruits you would like to have as well. And then implementing or beginning, because the full moon is actually a good time to begin something, not the new moon, the full moon.
Right.
The best time to begin something. And that would be a good time perhaps to begin a spiritual practice and or join a meditation group or some other kind of a spiritual, like go on retreat. It'd be a great time to go on a retreat, a spiritual retreat, where you can begin something that will result in the spiritual fruits that you would like to have. So anything else you would like to say for Libra rising, sun or moon, Neeshee?
That's it.
Okay. Scorpio rising. For Scorpio rising, sun or moon, the full moon in Virgo on February 19th of this year is in the 11th house. The 11th house is the house of gains, and it could be gain from your career. It's literally the house of income from your job, from your career. It is side ventures. It has something to do with the oldest sibling winnings, like pennies from heaven. If you tend to remember to do things like buy the lottery tickets and that kind of stuff, if you're into that, you may win something with the full moon there. Also, social life in general and colleagues or people that you get together to, like conferences, you know, that kind of stuff. So the full moon gives. It's in Virgo, and Virgo is about purification, discrimination, elimination, and assimilation. So there may be some things that you want to get rid of, but it won't be painful because the full moon gives. It'll just kind of naturally fall away as you move forward into perhaps any side ventures that you have. Like say if you're thinking of having a side business, great time to begin it. I mean, unless you've gotten a Muhurta, which is an electional chart, where you choose the very best time to do something like that, and that takes into consideration your whole chart. But just in general, if you wanted to start something like that, that would be a good day to do that. So, Virgo is a manifestation sign, and the full moon, being that it's full and giving, it's a good time to manifest and to think about it. Like you can sit down and write about it. What exactly is it would you like to manifest in your life as it comes to income, side ventures, side businesses, in your relationships with your colleagues, that kind of thing. Virgo there will help you to get the details of how to do that. So your turn, Neeshee. And also remember to tell them what card you drew today too.
So I drew an 8 of Hearts, which is a card of Rahu, and Hearts is a suit of emotional nourishment. But because it's a Rahu card, it's going to require confronting, the unconscious in order to become balanced in the deepest sense. So that process is familiar to Scorpio on the one hand, because Scorpio is in a process of strengthening its weaknesses and of transforming internally. And interestingly, I get the feeling that this moon in Virgo in the 11th is going to be something that draws Scorpio into extroversion more than it does introversion. This is going to help Scorpio kind of come out a bit, into the domain of things where it needs to, rather than being concentrated in this internalizing life process. This is a moon that's encouraging them to make use of the fruits, the nourishment that can be had through engaging, with people and circumstances.
Oh, that's nice. Because most introverted people, they would like to be a bit more extroverted than they are. Right. Simply because in our society, there's really a lot of benefits to that extroverts get to enjoy that introverts don't. That's right. So that's a really good point. I like that. And then so it's some kind of fruit too, because of the Hearts is fruit, and the full moon is giving.
Yeah, and the 11th house is a house of gains as well, Right. So it just seems like there's something there for them to claim.
Yeah. Oh, I like the way you put that. Great. Do you see any implications for health?
I think that is the primary implication for health, really, because, if they can go after that and get that, they're going to be more balanced. They're going to be more healthy, So because it's an 8 of Hearts that I pulled, it's like the health health for all of these things is more at a psychological level. You know, it's the ability to go and consume that fruit that's going to be the nourishment, you know, that we need. So I don't see anything in particular that would indicate, you know, bad health or difficulties in health. I think there's a lot of potential for good health.
Yeah, great. That's great. Okay, so now Sagittarius rising, sun or moon. The full moon in Virgo happens on February 19th, and for you, it is in the 10th house. And the 10th house is, well, it's obvious, it's your career, your job, but it's really more your sphere of responsibility, your reputation in your field, fame if you are interested in fame, and which is pretty much connected to reputation, your father, and visible actions. So the full moon there, well, the full moon gives. So that we can establish right away. And in the sign of Virgo, well, Virgo is a manifestation sign because it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is a manifestation planet. And Virgo is about purification, elimination, assimilation, and so therefore in nourishment, basically, because it's the intestines that it rules. I think it's the small intestine in particular that it rules. So it's a really good time for you to enjoy some kind of result from the hard work that you've been doing, no matter what your sphere of responsibility is. Even if you don't have like a regular job or a business or a typical career. Everybody has responsibilities in some way or another. So there is some kind of fruit to be had there, something to assimilate. And if there's something that needs to be eliminated, it won't be painful. It'll naturally happen, and you'll be happy to let it go, whatever it is, just simply because that's what Virgo is involved in. So, and if you wanted to change your career, now, you know, that's a big thing, and that involves like the whole chart, of course. And if you wanted to do something like that, that would be, 19th would be a good day to get a consultation looking at that, because the full moon sheds light on these things. And let me see, you have Jupiter right in the first house, and he's in his own sign, so that's a manifestation thing going on there too. And the moon and Jupiter are aspecting each other, and there's an interchange going on. So again, manifestation and some kind of giving situation. Okay, so we're doing something a little different. Neeshee pulled a card also to go with this. So you want to talk about that, Neeshee?
Sure. So I pulled an 8 of hearts. So 8 is the number for Rahu, and hearts is a suit, a lunar suit that is about nourishment, you know, that which can flow into us and give us more of life. So keep that in mind while I say this, which is that Sagittarius is a goal-oriented sign, you know. It's after something, and it wants to go and get that, which it is pursuing. And the moon in the 10th house, as Karen pointed out, is the house of, you know, career, reputation, one's visible and significant activities. So I think this is a time for Sagittarius people to really reflect on that domain of their life, you know, their career and what they're doing with their life energy, because, you know, the moon is a reflective planet. So this could be a good time to brainstorm, you know, or to have ideas, or to create a plan, or to, you know, become more organized relative to what exactly you want to achieve in your career in the next period of time, or what goals you have, or, you know, it's just a way of bringing more consciousness and insight to that domain of life, you know, because the full moon is there. So there's just a lot of light and energy going into that sphere of life. So you might as well make use of that. You know, and that's what's going to be nourishing. That's going to be the fruit, you know, that nourishes. And Rahu is a planet of success, really. You know, Rahu will give, you know, whatever it is that we want and need, basically. It'll even give us the things that don't satisfy us. But it doesn't have any problem giving. Okay? And ultimately, Rahu is what gives us exactly what we do need in life, that what we didn't realize we needed that. Okay? That's typically how it works. So I would say Sagittarius should just be open to considering how they want to go about achieving their goals, you know, in their career, and what they really, how they want to go about that, different ways of looking at it, and just being very practical, you know, being very Virgonian, you know, just practical, rational, organized, just lay it all out there, you know, and so you can feel clear. And you have Jupiter on the ascendant, so, you know, there's plenty of energy there to grow.
Right. Right, that's right. That's another thing we've been forgetting to mention, is that the moon is the growth principle. And because it's a full moon, it's an outward kind of growth. So there you go. There's some growing going in that house for you.
Yeah, looking really good for Sagittarius.
Yes. Okay, so now on to Capricorn. Oh, but first, if you're enjoying this video and you want more on Ayurveda and astrology, then please hit like and subscribe and leave a comment, because I really enjoy reading your comments and replying to them. So now we will go on to Capricorn rising, sun or moon. So Capricorn rising, sun or moon. And for Capricorn, the moon is in the full moon in Virgo, which happens on February 19th, is in the sign of Virgo. And the 9th house has to do with higher education, higher knowledge. It's actually the house of dreams too. So you may get a dream that night that gives you some guidance. It's special trips. Now, the 3rd house is your everyday round, the stuff that you do on a daily basis in your neighborhood, basically. But the 9th house is a special trip. So it could be going on some kind of spiritual pilgrimage, or just going someplace that you don't go regularly. So that's nice. That's always a nice thing. It's an expansive thing. It's the house of luck. It's the house of a spiritual teacher, spiritual development, and it's your spouse's siblings. So the houses actually, you know, it contains everything in life. So it's actually kind of impossible to list everything that a house means, but those are the general significations for the 9th house. And the full moon is a giving moon and sheds light. So it'd be a good day for studying. If you want to study any kind of higher education, any kind of higher knowledge, it's a good day to do some kind of a spiritual get-together with people, to get together maybe with your spouse's family and their siblings. In the sign of Virgo, Virgo is about purification, elimination, assimilation, extracting the nourishment from your food, basically, if you want to get that literal, but symbolically too. And so if there's something in your belief system that's not serving you very well or anymore, then you'll notice it kind of naturally just falling away here. And perhaps you'll have a spiritual insight that naturally just gets rid of things that you believed before. So if you really want to do something like that, study Gemini. That'll really do it for you, I'm telling you. I was so surprised some of the things I learned about life just studying that. And so we're also doing something a little bit different. And Neeshee pulled one of the cards of truth today. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Neeshee, at this point to talk about that and anything else you want to say.
Okay, so I pulled an 8 of Hearts, which is a card of Rahu. And Hearts is a card of, it's a suit of emotional nourishment. So, you know, Capricorn has some serious planets in the 1st house there, Saturn and Ketu in particular, and they're going to be hanging out there for a while. So Capricorn's got a lot on its plate. And now that there's this full moon in the 9th house, it seems like a good moment for Capricorn to get in touch with their true self. you know, and there's a lot of challenges on them, on their self, you know, because of Saturn and Ketu being there. So who they are might feel restricted in some way right now. It might feel constricted. It might feel narrowed. And that full moon in the ninth house is just the opposite of that. It's this illumination where a person can see, you know, very clearly who they really are, and therefore what they really want in their life, what their life is really about. You know, that's why the ninth house is a person's swadharma, you know, their truth, you know, their righteousness. So I think it's a good moment for Capricorn to connect with that, and that's going to take Capricorn out of this sort of, you know, constricted zone of Saturn-Ketu conjunction, you know, and help them see where it is that they want to go, what it is that they can manifest based on who they really are. You know, so that's the transformative evolutionary fruit that I'm seeing for them. Yeah.
You know what's really interesting about this? I have Capricorn rising, and Venus has been going over my ascendant, as well as Saturn and Ketu there. And one of the things I've been just kind of obsessed with lately is a little side thing that I like to do, and that is getting more clear on my personal style. I know that sounds very frivolous in light of what we're talking about here, but it really isn't. And I've been investigating the Kibbe system, Kibbe, which it includes men too. It's not just for women. The women are usually more interested in these things. And actually making some progress, because I don't know what it is about me, but I think probably because I have Ketu and Rahu aspecting my ascendant, I tend to never neatly fit into any kind of system there is. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't totally fit, ever. And so I kind of do these things periodically. And I notice it's when Venus is going through the first house, or when the moon's going through the first house, that I revisit it and then I make progress. And so I'm feeling like I'm making progress right now, and that feels good in terms of, like, not just personal style, but like understanding myself in a way that furthers me in the world. So maybe other Capricorn rising people are experiencing the same thing. And if you are, would you comment about it below? I'd like to hear. It would be interesting to me. So anything else you want to say about this, Neeshee, for Capricorn?
That's it for me.
Okay. So now Aquarius rising sun or moon. The full moon will be in the sign of Virgo on February 19th, and for you, it's in the 8th house. Now, the full moon gives, so I need to remind you that the full moon gives, and the 8th house has to do with your partner's resources. It is inheritance, endings, attractiveness, the occult sciences, life and death. So it's an important house. But because we're astrologers, of course, for us, it's most significantly about the occult sciences, which is astrology is one of them. And one of the things that we did today that's a little bit different too, as Neeshee drew a card, which is from the Cards of Truth that Ernst Wilhelm teaches, another occult science. And so the full moon is bringing light to that area. Now, it could, if you're in a relationship, it could just be about your partner's resources and or the bond that you have with your partner. And if not, it's a great time. If you've been studying any of the occult sciences, it's a good time for you to make some progress in that area. Perhaps there'll be some light shed on something that you haven't been able to fully understand or grasp at that time. So now the sign of Virgo, you know, Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So, and it's the exaltation sign of Mercury. So it's a manifestation sign. So there could be some manifestation going on there. Be a good time to perhaps to start learning something in the occult sciences. And Virgo is about purification, elimination, and assimilation of nutrients as well, too. So there'll be something that falls away that is painless because the full moon is giving, so it's not like a painful letting go. But nevertheless, it'll leave your life, and you'll be able to assimilate knowledge in this area more readily during this time. So I would say take advantage of that. And also maybe your partner too. Well, there'll be something that comes to your partner that sheds light. Maybe there'll be a little bump in income, or to begin something that will result in a bump in income or resources. So, do you have anything to say about this, Neeshee? You want to talk about the card that you drew for this?
Sure, I drew an 8 of Hearts, which is the card of Rahu, because Rahu is the 8th planet, and the heart suit is about emotional nourishment. So the 8 of Hearts is about the nourishment that can come from facing the difficult things in life, you know, the nourishment that Rahu ultimately gives us. So, you know, Aquarius has Rahu opposite its first house. So there's some Rahu going on there. The full moon in the 8th, it's a really good time maybe for Aquarius people to get astrology readings, or to, you know, dive deeper into their study of occult sciences if they are already studying occult sciences. If they're not, but they're curious, this would be the moment to check it out. And so, you know, the full moon is full, and it's shedding its light in a particular domain of everyone's life, depending on where it falls. So this is that place. So if you want to harmonize with that, and if you do, you'll feel healthy, because we're healthy when we harmonize with where the energy is at in life. You know, if we're not harmonizing with where the energy is at, then we're not feeling very full of life. So if Aquarius wants to feel enlivened, you know, during this full moon, it's in the 8th house, so they're going to find that. You know, that's where that fruit is. So maybe it'll be through the occult sciences that they learn something about themselves, or see something about themselves that they hadn't seen before. And that'll be kind of like a Rahu event that nourishes them, you know, in the long term. So this might be a good moment where some important connections are made for Aquarius.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
I like the sound of that. Okay, so if you don't have anything else for Aquarius, we will move on. Okay, to Pisces. Okay, for Pisces rising, sun or moon, the full moon on February 19th of this month is, well, yes, the full moon is in the 7th house of the partner. So that's the house of spouse, business partner, the public in general, foreign trade, home in a foreign country, and of course sex. So that's related to the partner. Okay, so the full moon gives, it's in the sign of Virgo. So Virgo would be about manifesting something. And if you're single, it's a good time to be out and about where you can meet somebody that you're interested in. Don't stay home during this time. Make sure that you're out someplace having fun and enjoying yourself, because the full moon is about enjoying yourself. Now, in the sign of Virgo, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and that's the exaltation sign of Mercury, it's manifestation. So you may actually be able to attract someone into your life that you could have a long-term committed relationship with. Now, Virgo is also about purification, assimilation, elimination. And, you know, maybe you'll just become more clear about what are the non-negotiables for you, what you absolutely must have in relationship, and perhaps everything else is negotiable. And that's always a good thing to get clear on. And I'm not necessarily talking about doing anything like having a list with all the exact traits and everything that you want in a potential partner. but more just being clear on what is truly non-negotiable for you. So for me, affection is a non-negotiable. So I could never be with somebody who was very super reserved and never wanted to hold hands or anything like that. So it can be as simple as that, small things. If you're already in a relationship, well, then this would be a good time to get together with your partner and maybe have a date night or just, you know, hang out and focus on each other and enjoy each other's company and talk, because, well, it's a Mercury sign. And you'll be able, your emotional side will be able to flow more easily. So a conversation on emotional things, like just your feelings for each other, for instance, should go much more smoothly, much more easily during this full moon. So would you like to comment and say something about it? Also remember the card that you pulled. We're doing something a little different, and that is that Neeshee pulled a card from the Cards of Truth to go along with our reading today, and it fits it perfectly.
So I pulled the Eight of Hearts, which is the card of Rahu, because Rahu is the 8th planet, and the Hearts suit is about emotional nourishment. You know, the nourishment we can gain from growing and evolving in life. And there's something that's Rahu about all relationships, you know, because Rahu is just the other side of Ketu. It's the ability to observe something. You know, when we're with a partner, we are now in a position where we can observe ourselves in a different level because we're in a relationship. There's a reflective capability within that circumstance that otherwise wouldn't be there if you were just alone. So that's the Rahu element of it. So there's always a Rahu element where we get exposed in a relationship and have to see something about ourselves we didn't expect to see. So I think that's relevant because the moon is in the 7th house for Pisces. And there might be something of that going on. At the same time, the moon is about connection. You know, it's about receptivity. It's about connecting with people and exchanging energy. You know, the moon is one of the primary factors traditionally that's examined in compatibility between two people. Because the moon governs the flow of life energy. If the flow of life energy is healthy, the relationship will be compatible. There's all kinds of ways in which that's ascertained, which I'm not going to get into. But needless to say, that there could be a great flow here in the relationship during this full moon, because there's just a lot of energy there in the 7th house. So if your 7th house is doing well, that domain of your life is already doing well, it's going to get magnified. You know, you're really going to feel a nice flow during this time. If it's not going well and there's just things that need to be dealt with, where there's going to be a lot of light thrown on it, you know, and it'll be a good moment to deal with it. And afterwards, you're going to feel a lot better, you know, because chances are you're not feeling that great, you know, with things not being handled, you know. So it's a good opportunity either way. But I think it could be a great moment to just connect with your partner at a deeper level. You know?
Yeah, that's really nice, Neeshee. Okay, so this again has been on the full moon in Virgo on February 19th. And if you enjoyed this video and you want more, if you want Neeshee and I to keep doing this, where we talk about Ayurveda and astrology and the full moon forecast, then please hit like and subscribe below and leave a comment if you feel moved to. I really enjoy that, and I'll return your I'll comment back. And until next month's full moon, good night or goodbye, good day. See you later. Sayonara.